Okay, so we're going to take a little drive to Coronado today, but this is a video that I was really reluctant to make, and but I felt like I've done so many videos about the INEOS Grenadier that to leave this one out and not share my reasons why would be misleading. So basically, shortly before I got my Grenadier, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and it gave me a pause because when my Grenadier came, it's like, do I want to do this or should I do this? And I decided that I still wanted to have the experience. But about a year into having the Grenadier, let's go ahead and take off and do some driving. About a year into the Grenadier, I started noticing more issue with some of my motor skills, because that's what led me to be diagnosed in the first place. And of course, sometimes it shows up in my videos because I have a tremor, and at the moment that's the only outwardly visible sign. But the situation is such that Parkinson's is a movement disorder, and you get some really funny side problems as a result of it. And one of them is that I have this shoulder lockup, and in this car, with me being 5'4" and it being 6'8", everything is about lifting and putting things up. And I've had days when I can't reach to get to the infotainment screen because my arm just doesn't want to go. And so, adding up some of these things and the way, parking and steering, because driving really isn't hard in the Grenadier. And I'm not going to tell you that it got any worse, but it started getting harder for me. And so I thought, okay, is this just me on a, fussy day, or is it me really having some issue with it? Well, so historically over time, it started just not being as easy to manage. And so, I carried on, and it's kind of a slow process to the whole Parkinson's thing. It's not an overnight problem. It's one of those things that you die with instead of die from most of the time. And so, I thought, not a problem, I'll carry on with it. And then I started having some other issues that kind of stacked up. I guess getting old is just not fun. What can I tell you? And most of the people that watch my channel are a little on the older side, but not super old. And then I learned that I was going to have heart surgery. And so that's really the thing that's kind of pulled the trigger on it, because I'm going to be out from behind the driving wheel for about 8 weeks while I have a heart valve replaced, because it's a full open heart surgery. And so that's on the horizon for this year. And so when we start stacking these things, and the fact that my mom's 93 now and she can still climb in and out of the Grenadier, but it's getting tougher. And so I saw an opportunity, and I started feeling like that I could benefit by having a car that did have some more tech that would kind of do some driving assist. So on those days when I'm kind of shaky, I've got some help. Because, I love the Grenadier. It's fun, it's unique, I enjoy it, and I still will continue to make videos about it because I have a good relationship with the dealer, and they're happy to let me pick up and drive newer models when they come out and evaluate them, and I'm still planning to do that. So I just felt like I needed to sort of explain, because if I just sold my Grenadier and didn't say anything about it, I think people would think it was weird, because I talk up the Grenadier pretty much. Then yeah, it's got its quirks and I got my frustrations, but for the most part, it's a solid vehicle, and I can't recommend it enough to those that want this kind of an experience. But that was just it. I decided that I was making that choice. I wanted to have the experience, even if it wasn't going to be for a long time. And I just didn't know how long that would be until it either got to be too much for me, or something like that. So I'm in the process of moving it along, and I'm probably going to do a video about that as well, which will be interesting. I've done some of the videos I do on my channel are about selling cars on CarMax and Carvana and so forth. And so I'm probably going to see what it's like to take this car to those resellers and see what kind of offers come about. And so we'll find out if reasonable offers ensue, or if it's just, they don't know what they're looking at and how to evaluate it, because I'm not certain how that's going to play out. But we're gonna learn something from it. So I might as well make it a learning experience. And in the meanwhile, I'll keep making videos. It just won't be driving my Grenadier when I'm doing it. And I think it maybe takes a little bit of the authenticity away, but at the same time, I've had a lot of experience with it, and at least I know what I'm talking about when people have questions and get behind the wheel or trying to make a decision. Because I appreciate the comments that I get from you around the world about things that you're evaluating, things you don't like. And, I understand some of the things you don't like. And we all have our fingers crossed for INEOS to do well and to keep doing better. And that doesn't change. And yes, I've had comments from people who didn't keep their Grenadiers for very long. And most of the time when I get the comments and see what they say, if they have, let's get into freeway traffic. When people leave comments about not keeping their Grenadiers for very long, it normally turns out that it has something to do with it being a mismatch. They didn't explore it enough before they got it. And of course, that was fair game when the INEOS first came out, because nobody had a chance to drive one before they bought it, really, except for maybe the day they picked it up. That was kind of my situation. I didn't drive it until I actually got it. And I thought my order had been canceled, frankly, because of the lack of communication and the fact that they gave you your deposit back just made me think, they sort of canceled me out. But then when it came in and I got the call, it's like, oh, okay, I guess it's still a thing. So, they brought it to my house and we tested it in the garage because of where I live, which was, above and beyond. So you got to hand it to them for, going the extra mile. And of course, I'm very fortunate that I live in a city with a great dealer, not just a good dealer, a great dealer. And I'm pretty close to them, about 6 miles. So that's unique. And I understand, because a lot of people I hear from, they're 4 hours away from a dealer. And that gives a little more of a pause. But at the same time, the Grenadier, I've not had any issues that require the Grenadier to limp into the dealer. You get things like the little overspeed warning software update that we had to wait for. Well, I took care of that in my annual service. And then this latest overdue for service. Well, it's silly and annoying, but at the same time, it doesn't really stop anybody from driving the Grenadier. And in the past year, Ford had 157 recalls, and the Grenadier had 2. And so when people worry about reliability or quality, I just like to remind them that it's a solid built vehicle, and you are taking a leap of faith because it's a still not completely proven company, but it's backed by a really big proven company, which is INEOS. And so that's kind of what got me started making this YouTube channel in the first place. Was I get really excited about the cars that I am interested in and want to buy, and there wasn't much information, so the information that I assembled I just decided to share. And so I sort of kept on that path going forward. And there's always some news with INEOS. It doesn't pour out though, it trickles out. And so sometimes there's like not much to say, and other times it's, you know, boom, boom, boom. I think later this week they've been working on their website, and they've been redoing their press kit and their brochures and things, and so I think they're finally kind of revitalizing, you know, their selling tools, because everything that you've seen, the configurator stayed the same for a couple of years, and I think that they are updating it. It may be updated by the time you see this video, updating it for the 26 and changing some of the imagery and hopefully making it a little easier to understand the colors, because I got the Britannia blue and nobody ordered this color hardly at all for the initial launch, and so my car stands out as kind of a rare example because it looked like black on the configurator. So the configurator sort of, it can be a little misleading in what colors are going to look like, and hopefully they're kind of working on that to give better representation. I mean, I may be way off base because, you know, I haven't seen it. Oh, my little watch. I haven't seen the configurator yet since they've redone it, but we can only hope that they're working to improve it. You know, there's still plenty for me to discuss with the Grenadier. It's just that I won't be doing it from behind the wheel of the Grenadier. And, you know, I was even thinking about making this video from behind my desk because, as you can see, it takes an extra level to drive and talk at the same time and have a conversation and be cohesive. But by the same token, it just feels a little more like, you know, going out for a ride, and I'm just kind of sharing my information, because you know, most people, it's like I could have easily just gotten rid of my Grenadier, continued to make videos, and you know, 99% of you wouldn't know the difference. But it just doesn't feel, it's, you know, it's not me. Okay, let's make a U-turn. See, the turning radius improved when I did the stabilizer and I had him tighten the steering stops. The steering radius did improve, but it's still a truck and it's still a large turning radius. And hopefully in the coming week, I'm expecting to drive a 26, and I'll compare it. But from some of the things I read, the steering radius can be set in the 24s and 25s pretty much to what they're able to do, and doing it from the factory on the 26s. And the difference is they had the steering stop set so that you could have snow chains. And you know, if your wheels turn too far, then that would impede having snow chains. But doing that to 100% of all the cars probably was not the best idea, because everybody suffered with the lesser turning radius. So instead, they've now given you a tighter turning radius and kind of given warnings about snow chains. And so that gives a little bit more, you know, gives you that tighter turning radius. Again, it's only 5%, and it's a little difference. I don't think it's the world of difference. That's my opinion. I see these videos that say massive changes, and I don't think they're massive changes. But I am interested in trying out the new steering, because there is a difference. I just don't know that it's massive. A variable steering box that should take, at low speeds, give more steer, and at higher speeds be more stable. And then when you're off-road, still have the kind of steering that is best for an off-road situation. So, you know, I'm going to still continue to drive the car. It's not like I can't drive. It's just that sometimes I get in this car and it's more of a chore because of the way my body's just behaving that day. And that's on me. It's nothing to do with my Grenadier. And so I just didn't want to communicate that by saying, I sold my Grenadier, and not telling people why. I'll stay involved, but just won't be an owner. And I feel bad about it, but at the same time, I got to do it. And so that was, I think, the thing that mattered the most. because I could have just pulled the plug right at the beginning, because I had this information, but of course it was pretty new information about my diagnosis and what that meant to me. I'm getting by. I'm spending a lot of time in physical therapy though, because I really goofed up my arm. Every time I go to Costco or something, and everything I stack in the back, when I lift my arm, it just doesn't want to do it. And so it's things like that that make it really difficult. And so the sum total of everything just said, you know what, it's time to move on. So that's what I'm doing, and I appreciate you coming along for the ride. And I'm sorry that I am kind of changing up the game, but it makes the most sense for me, and I just wanted to be upfront about it. Please feel free to leave a comment. I'm not happy about making this video, but by the same token, I'm a little relieved that I just kind of am sharing the information, because I wanted to give an explanation as to why I'm selling my Grenadier, especially when I'm advocating for it so much and so often. So anyway, please feel free to leave a comment. If you want to buy me a coffee, there's a link to my tip jar in the video description. I appreciate all the comments. I still try to answer them all, because I can help point people in the right direction with things, and it's interesting hearing other people's experiences in other parts of the world, because these videos get viewed all over the place and not just in the US. And so it's really interesting to hear some of the things that go on in the other countries that we don't necessarily know about here in the US with the Grenadier, or the Quartermaster for that matter. So anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.